So I wanted to do a quick demonstration of how I find the two landmark shapes of the pentatonic scale. That's shape number 1 and shape number 4. So shape number 1 has the root note on the E string. And if I'm going to play it as a minor pentatonic, I find that root note with my index finger. If I'm going to play a major pentatonic, I would find that root note with my pinky. So I'm going to do, as an example, I'm going to do the C major pentatonic. So I find the note C on the low E string, E, F, G, A, B, C. It's here at the 8th fret. So if I were going to play minor pentatonic, I would leave my index finger on that 8th fret. But if I'm going to play major pentatonic, I put my pinky on it, which puts my index finger at the 5th fret. And I play this, what many people think of as the main shape of the pentatonic scale. Then I want to find that same root note, C, on the A string. So I could find it here, A, B, C, but that's going to involve open strings. So to make the demonstration a little bit easier, I'm going to jump this up 1 octave and play this at the 15th fret. So there's another C on the A string, and I get shape number 4 of the pentatonic, which looks like this. Now, shape number 1 and shape number 4 are the most popular and common shapes of the pentatonic scale because in both of these shapes, your index finger stays fairly stationary. So in shape number 1, it's completely stationary. It stays. I found the shape, my root note on the 8th fret with my pinky. That put my index finger at the 5th fret. My index finger literally stays there the entire scale. Shape number 4, I found that root note on the 15th fret on the A string. Here my index finger stays on the 12th fret for the whole shape until I get to the B string, and then I have to jump up 1 fret either with my middle finger, or I usually jump up with my index finger so that I have more control. But for most of that shape, except for the B string, my finger's stationary on the 12th fret. So then I've got my main shape, shape number 1, here at the 5th fret. My index finger's at the 5th fret. And shape number 4, my index finger's at the 12th fret. And even though I found both of those shapes with the root note on my pinky, I'm thinking about where the landmark is the fret that my index finger is on. So the 5th fret and the 12th fret. So here I'm in the key of C major. Here's a C major backing track that I did. Maybe I'll jump up an octave so I can play this 5th fret shape up 12 frets, so at the 17th fret. So here's another example of finding the two landmark shapes. This time I'm going to choose the key of G minor. So first step, I need to find the note G on the E string. That's here at the 3rd fret. And this was where shape number 1 would be located. And because we're in a minor key, I just keep my index finger on that root note. If it were G major, I put my pinky on it. But in this case, it's G minor. So put my index finger here and I play shape number 1. Then I find G on the A string, and that's up here at the 10th fret. And I play shape number 4, which looks like this. And then I can take shape number 1, which was here at the 3rd fret, and I can move it up 12 frets and play it 1 octave higher. So I'm at the 15th fret now, which I really just think of as the 3rd fret starting over, because the 12th fret is the exact same as the open string. So, you know, the 3rd fret here is my first dot, so the 15th fret is the first dot past the 12th fret. So there's a G, there's a G, so here would be shape 1 repeated. And And if you're on an electric guitar, at least one of the two shapes will be available to you 1 octave higher, depending on what key you're in and how many frets you have accessible on your guitar. So in G minor, I've got shape number 1 at the 3rd fret, shape number 4 at the 10th fret, and then shape number 1 repeating at the 3rd fret above the 12th fret or the 15th fret. So here's that in action. Here's a G minor backing track. I'm going to try and really jump around between those 3 shapes so that you can see how if you get those landmark shapes in your playing, you'll be able to kind of navigate the whole neck up and down. Here's one more example of finding the landmark shape. So this time I'm going to choose the key of D minor. So first step, find D on the E string. That's at the 10th fret, and because I'm in a minor key, I put my index finger on it. If I were playing in D major, I would put my pinky on it. But here's D at the 10th fret, so I play shape number 1 of the pentatonic. Then I find D on the A string, and that's here at the 5th fret, and I play shape number 4 of the pentatonic. So my 2 landmark shapes are shape number 1 at the 10th fret, shape number 4 at the 5th fret. So 10th fret, 5th fret. So I really want to keep that in mind. And if I have those 2 landmarks, I can jump around between those 2 shapes and make a lot of music. I also, in any key that you're in on an electric guitar, at least one of those shapes will repeat 12 frets higher. So in this case, this 5th fret here, shape number 4, can also repeat here at the 17th fret, which is 5 frets higher than the 12th fret. So that's the exact same shape that I did here. So now I have shape number 1 at the 10th fret, shape number 4 at the 5th fret, and at the 17th fret. Here's what that sounds like to a backing track. So here's another example of finding the 2 landmark shapes for a key. So let's say I'm in the key of C sharp minor. So the first step, I want to find the note C sharp on the low E string, and that is here at the 9th fret. And then I play shape number 1. So then I find C sharp on the A string. That's here at the 4th fret. And I play shape number 4. And then that shape number 4 could repeat 12 frets higher. So in every key, you're going to have at least one of these shapes, at least on an electric guitar, you're going to have at least one of these shapes be repeatable up 12 frets higher. So I've got shape number 1 at the 9th fret, shape number 4 at the 4th fret, and then that shape number 4 was also going to repeat up here at the 16th fret. So as long as I keep those places in mind, I can jump all over the neck, and it really gives me 3 landmarks to get back to, so that if I do start exploring using some of the other shapes and some of the kind of what I call the diagonal extensions of the pentatonic scales, and I start sliding around the neck, I always have a couple of different places that I can get back to so that I'm not always having to start back from scratch and finding shape number 1. So I'm going to play to a backing track now. This is in C sharp minor, and I'm going to jump around between that shape number 1 at the 9th fret and shape number 4 at the 4th fret, and then I'm going to repeat that shape number 4 up here. And if you're wondering about shapes 2, 3, and 5, they are not as important as shape number 1 and shape number 4. And once you really get these two landmark shapes in place, then we can look at shapes 2, 3, and 5 and how they're connected to shapes 1 and 4. But shapes 1 and 4 are what most people use because your index finger stays pretty stationary on these two shapes. So shape number 1, my index finger stays stationary the whole time. It's at the 9th fret on every string. Shape number 4, my index finger stays at the 4th fret for the entire shape except the B string, where I have to jump up 1 fret. Some of the other shapes, 2, 3, and 5, the index finger has to move a lot more. Now, it's not that difficult, but it's a little harder to memorize. It's a little harder to shift. You're more likely to screw up until you really have that shape down in your head. Whereas with these two shapes, as long as you keep that index finger fairly stationary, then you're probably not going to get lost like you might on some of the other shapes. So anyway, here I'm going to play to a backing track. This is shape number 1 and shape number 4. So here's another example. I'm going to find the two landmark shapes of the pentatonic scale, shape number 1 and shape number 4. I'm going to find it for the key of A major. So step number 1, find the root note on the E string. So A would be at the 5th fret on the low E string. And since I'm in a major key, I want to put my pinky on that A. And then that gives me shape number 1. So even though I found that root note A with my pinky on the 5th fret, as soon as I find that and locate where my index finger is, that's kind of how I remember it. So to me, the key of A, shape number 1, is here at the 2nd fret because my index finger stays stationary. It stays at the 2nd fret the whole time. So then step number 2 is finding A on the A string. Well, I have open, but I can't really put my pinky on it and play behind there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up to the 12th fret. There's A. And when I find the root note on the A string, that gives me shape number 4 of the pentatonic. Shape number 4 is the second most useful shape of the pentatonic scale because it's mostly, because your index finger is mostly stationary in this shape. So here I found A at the 12th fret. That put my index finger at the 9th fret, and it stays the 9th fret for everything except the B string. So those two shapes are the easiest to use, and therefore they're the ones that get used the most, even by professional players. So in the key of A, I've got shape number 1 at the 2nd fret. My index finger is at the 2nd fret, and shape number 4 at the 9th fret. So I try to commit that to memory. The key of A major is main shape, shape number 1 at the 2nd fret, shape number 4 is at the 9th fret, and then I could repeat shape number 1 12 frets higher at the 14th fret. So here's what that sounds like to a backing track.